Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secret sewer glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for Cabaret on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
I am Amber. I'm Lucibel. And we're from the House of LeMay. I like that. Yes.
Emoji, 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 banana, fana, fomoji, be my momoji. Emoji! Let's give it up for emoji. All right, let's sing the Katniss song. 1, 2, ready, and Katniss, Katniss, faux fatness, banana, fana, faux fatness, be my momoji. That's the way we play the lame game.
Today I'm drinking a Pepsi Pete, bud. Yeah, so do it. We got ourselves a glass of Easter right here, bud. Dude, that ain't right, bud. That just tastes like vanilla Coke condensed in a glass. But you know what would make it better, bud? A shot of Fireball. Dude! And that's how you make Easter in a glass, bud, y'all.
Hawaii is a blue state, and you know we do have some cuckoos here, but they are in the minority. The spirit of aloha in Hawaii also works to kind of counteract that and be like, you know what? These are fellow humans. I'm not going to treat my fellow humans like that.
Tennessee's drag queen governor, hypocrite Governor Lee, signed a new anti-drag law. His yearbook has a picture of him doing drag. Girl, just because your dress was a little slutty, you don't have to pass laws that hurt others. Next time you do drag, just throw those heels in the air and do what comes naturally. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants a safe space. The anti-woke moron was yelled at in a restaurant, and now she says she needs a safe space. This idiot will harass anyone who opposes her, act like a baboon in Congress, and suddenly she needs a safe space? What a snowflake. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Amber Live. And you know what I want you to do? I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. And now, what do candy, corgis, and crazy laws have in common? They are all part of this week's news briefs. Did your grandma like candy? I know mine did. And the St. Vincent LeMay always had a bowl of ribbon candy on the coffee table. Mary Esther Stocks Martingale was a grandma, and her favorite candy was M&M's. She liked the chocolate candy covered in a hard layer of an artificial color so much, she was buried with them. And not just with them, in a handcrafted confectionery-themed coffin. For 30 years, Mary Martin was a teacher, and her students often gave her gifts of the sweet treats that were embossed with her initials, M and M. Mary, along with her son, designed the casket and had it custom built. The coffin was decorated with hundreds of the candy with the names of loved ones and friends. And to join in the celebration of her life, people were encouraged to wear M&M-themed clothing. Talking about death being a sweet, sweet sorrow. What's your favorite candy? Let us know in the comments. Do you believe in ghosts? Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, does. And the ghost she's believing in is her late former mother-in-law, Queen Elizabeth II. Upon the Queen's death, her beloved corgis, Sandy and Mac, were adopted by Sarah and her ex-husband, ex-Prince Andrew, who, while the former royals were divorced in 1996, they still live together at the Royal Lodge in Windsor, where Sarah walks the late monarch's dogs. In a recent interview, Sarah insinuated that the dogs could sense the spirit of the Queen. She said, "I always think that when they bark at nothing and there's no squirrels in sight, I believe it's the Queen passing by." Speaking of queens, on the same day, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed a bill into law that will restrict public drag show performances. Joshua Henley, a youth pastor in the same state, was sentenced to 45 years for admitting that he produced and transported child sexual abuse material involving 3 minors, and transporting a minor interstate with the intent to engage in sexual activity, as well as sent obscene videos and images to a minor. There is no evidence of a drag performer being a danger to children, but they are forbidden to perform in public, while every week we hear of multiple incidences of abuse by members of the clergy. Would you rather your child attend a drag show or a church service? And that's this week's News Briefs. Hey, Russell, come on in.
Hey, Amber, how are you?
I'm doing fine. We got some snow this weekend in Vermont, but we're still like 8-10 inches below average. So, maybe it'll catch up this month. Who knows?
I know how you hate being 8 or 10 inches below average.
You know that as well. So, Russell, what do you have to talk about tonight?
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, let's talk about Amber Chat that we had this last week. Which, is always a lot of fun. And we do it on that first Wednesday of the month. So the next one will be the next first Wednesday of the month. So we hope you all can join us. We had lots of our regulars and even some special videos from Big J. And it's nice to see everyone.
Yes, it was. It was nice to catch up. All right. And what's next?
The bustiers are my favorite thing. And that's what helps keep us going. And you can become a bustier using that Venmo that you see there at RJD Pro. And you can see we've got Scott House and our good friend Robusta Cap and our secret admirer. But we need more bustiers to help us pay the bills. So you can use Venmo at RJD Pro or go to amberlive.tv and look for the Support Amber Live button where you can donate using your credit card. And you can see we have 3 different levels with 3 different sets of items that we'll send you for supporting at those levels, and it's always a big help. So thank you all to our bustiers. You really, really are important to this show.
And Russell, in a couple of weeks, we'll be coming up to our 3rd anniversary of Amber Live with almost 145, 46 episodes. And if you've liked any of those episodes, click on that Venmo and give us some bucks.
Yeah, it would be a big help. It really would. So we got some bills coming in here for all the software and the website. And if you haven't checked out our new website, you should. It is done now. We're putting up, we put up lots of new pages recently, and there's always new things appearing on it from our social media, which you can find just about everywhere on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. We are out there. So go check it out.
Yes, we are everywhere. Now let's talk about this week's guest.
Well, right before that, I want to remind people to stay around till the end of the show because Amber has a big announcement. She's very excited about it. You can see the smile on her face. So don't disappear. Stay around for that announcement. But this week's guest is Honey West, and we are thrilled to have her. She's a cabaret performer who's been around for a while. Let's just leave it at that. And she's out of Chicago. She knows, I would say, pretty much everyone. And she's the reason we had Ginger Minge on the show a couple weeks ago. And so we have to thank her for that. And Honey is just an incredible performer. And Amber got to chat with her.
Yes, we spent a couple hours a couple of weeks ago talking to her. And let's start that interview right now. Entertainer Honey West has been a hit on the Broadway. Entertainer Honey West has been a hit on the cabaret circuit since her debut in the 1990 one-woman show, A Taste of Honey. She has won 2 After Dark Awards as Chicago's Outstanding Cabaret Entertainer, as well as several other honors and accolades. In 1977, she released the CD Take Honey West Home, and 7 years later released a second collection of My Big Fat Cheesy Lounge Act. Among her many gigs, West was seen on Oprah, backing up Cyndi Lauper, and was crowned Ms. Morton Downey Jr. by a panel of celebrity judges on Downey's talk show. She even performed for Julie Andrews and the company of Victor Victoria at their gala opening night party. Let's listen to one of her songs now.
It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It is in your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When you're in my arms and I feel you so close to me, my wildest dreams come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me. If you only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight, and to feel in the night the nearness of you. Miss him so much, Mr. Russell. When you're in my arms and I feel you so close to me, my wildest dreams come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me. If you only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight, and to feel in the night the nearness of you.
Honey West, come on in.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. That was a beautiful song. How do you pick your songs that you sing?
You know, I think the best songs that you can sing are something that sends a message that you believe in. So I love a lot of the old standards. I'm an older gal, and I love they call them jazz standards. Not all of them are actually jazz, but you know, the all the old greats, the Mel Tormes, the Sarah Vaughan's, the, you know, the all the good songs that are, you know, torchy and sung from the heart.
I introduced you as an entertainer. Um, if I was to explain your style or your performance to a stranger, what words should I use?
I think entertainer is great. I do a lot of theater, acting. I have a degree in musical theater from Indiana University. So uh, I do theater, I do cabaret, I do a lot of hosting gigs and a lot of advocacy work and charities.
I saw in your biography that you have done multiple benefits for basically for a lot of AIDS charities. Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I'm getting ready in April to turn 62. So I was really in my heyday going to the bars and the Chicago community in the 80s, 90s when AIDS really started to take a lot of people. And that's all I could do. You know, I didn't, it was a very helpless feeling for some of the younger crowd that really didn't know how hopeless it was. If someone was diagnosed, you were kind of planning your farewell to them because there wasn't a cure and people didn't really bounce back at that time. So if you saw the a cancer spot on someone's face, you knew, and you didn't know what to do. You didn't know whether to be afraid of them, you didn't know whether you could embrace them, and our government wasn't doing lifting a finger to help. So what we did as a community is all that we could, and we did benefits. And there were times when, you know, you do 2, 3, 4 a week just to raise a few dollars so somebody could eat or pay their electric bill. um, the red tape at the time, even when assistance did become available, it was backed up 6, 8 months. So if you had a friend that was really in need, um, you had to help them survive for those months to get assistance. And it was, yeah. So what else can you do but do whatever you can?
That's right. That's right. Honey West, tell me about the early days of Honey West and how you created the character and what brought it on.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was 27 years old and I was doing chorus boy work, you know, uh, Oklahoma and Cabaret and Guys and Dolls. And I was getting close to my 30s and I'm like, oh, what am I going to be, a chorus boy going into my 30s? I don't know how long I can keep kicking. And I was doing a lot of review work in a small company out of Florida, you know, with cruise ships and resorts, doing Lady America, we love to see you smile. That sounds very up with people.
I was saying that's up with people.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was, you know, singing. They would hire us out as singing waiters or on cruise ships as quartets, sextets, or octets. And we'd travel around every 6, 12 weeks to a new location, doing just review work, 40 shows, 20 shows, gold, solid gold. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do? Because the truth is, even by people that hired me 40 years later, they said, we didn't want to hire you because you were unmarketable. And I was like, oh. So when I was a boy, I wasn't boy enough. When I was, you know, identifying just as a drag performer or persona, I wasn't woman enough. You know, they told me to stay in the bars. And when I started transitioning, uh, they said, you don't think anyone's going to take you serious as an actress, do you? What would my people think? Meaning, would they lose ticket sales, which it is show business. And then when I did get farther into my transition, I wasn't woman enough. So now all of a sudden, at almost 62 years old, things are changing. And so now I'm being invited to the party, and it's a little It's great. It's a little overwhelming because I wasn't quite up to pace at first, and so I created at that time, before I started performing as Honey West, I took all those things that people would consider as a deficit, a softer timbre to my voice, a rounder, softer person, more feminine, and I created something that was marketable. I turned those deficits into an asset, and that's how Honey West came to be. At the
Tell me
time,
about.
yeah,
Go
at the
ahead.
time I didn't know I was transgender. So I tell people, I don't know if I found her or she found me, but she stuck around.
Tell me about the transition. How that developed in your mind, and some of the struggles that you had to have.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I don't know if my struggle is typical because I was performing, as a male for so many years, and I remember that when I started performing as Honey West, she became very popular, and I would get crowds and people had fun because I was kind of the girl next door. I wasn't a baton girl. I wasn't a highly glamorous pageant girl, and I wasn't just camp. I was just a fun gal. I would sing and carry on. And I remember before I transitioned that I would go home, take off my wig and my body forms, and my makeup would be smeared, and I would look in the mirror and think, what a monster. It was like they love her but they don't love me. So I actually kind of resented her, and I say her because she was a persona at the time. And I remember cutting my hair and saying, but then it started to meld, and we started to get closer, and of course ultimately it was who I became. But yeah, it's a crazy journey.
Has that affected your ability to get jobs? You say it's more accepting now, but
Mm.
the transition of your career as well as your
Yeah,
body, what was that like?
yeah. I was born into a world that didn't want me, and they wouldn't hire me. I begged for jobs. And what I did is I made myself valuable. When I first started Cabaret, they weren't really into me being Cabaret because they didn't know. The gay community would look at me up and down and say, hmm. They would actually kind of get angry because I wasn't pageant, and I wasn't just a camp queen, and they're like, I didn't fit a mold. So I told the owner of one of the cabaret bars here in Chicago at the time, I said, when's your slowest time? Well, we have Sunday afternoons, we're open, but nobody comes in. I said, okay, give me 2 hours on a Sunday. I think it was 2 to 4. That's how I started. And I built a crowd. I went to bars. I told people, look, I'm doing this. Come over and see me. And 15, 20 years later, I packed them in, for all that time. So I created opportunities. The reason I created a female character was because to work, I made something marketable. So my whole career, I've had to, and when I got my first job in Florida as doing review work, they didn't want to hire me. And they said, I remember, I would call them every day because I had friends that worked for Musicana, and they're like, listen, they're a small little company, call them. And it was the middle of the summer in the middle of Florida, and they couldn't get anybody to come. So I kept begging, I kept calling, and they finally let me come. So yeah. So a little begging, groveling, and being maybe clever enough to create opportunities that they couldn't deny. I made myself as valuable as I could.
We've got more to talk to Honey West about, but first, let's talk to Russell.
What a great interview. She was so much fun to get to know.
And just easy to talk to, very easy to talk to. Russell, what's coming up other than the second half of that interview?
Well, the second half of that interview is going to be great, but we also have a fantastic clip of our dear friend Yolanda performing at Drag Ball, and she's going to be reading a book like she would at a regular drag queen story hour, but she did this one for a group of adults for her own drag queen story hour at Drag Ball. And then she's singing a song with another dear friend who we've known for a long time, Craig Mitchell.
Yep, he's been a guest several times on the show as well. So that was a great kickoff to Winter as a Drag Ball until we had to evacuate the building. But it was great. And also we've got Bug and Shug, and I believe Rocco might stop by as well.
I hope so. We'll see.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's get back into Honey West Part 2.
All right. What's your current status with jobs, or what are you doing now for
This very moment, I'm unemployed. I did 4 shows last year. I was out at Drury Lane, which is a 1,000-seat equity regional house. And then I did La Cage.
What did you do? What did you do?
I was Danny Reed, the agent. It was a featured role, but a smaller role. And typically it was a male role, but they wanted me to do the role. They had called, and they had to call Universal and say, will you allow us to have this role performed by a female? And they said yes. And they said, if that female was a trans female, would you feel differently? And they're like, no. In fact, we might even come and see it. So I got the blessing from Universal Studios. And
what show was that? What show was that?
Holiday Inn.
Okay. Oh,
with White Christmas and Irving Berlin. And then I got cast as Jacqueline from La Cage aux Folles. I was also understudying Ginger Minge for Zaza and Alban. And then I went into Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, reprising my role as Bernadette with the Mercury Theater. And then I was in Clue, understudying Mrs. Peacock and getting murdered 14 times a week as the cook and the singing telegram girl. And now I'm not doing anything. I'm writing a show called The Boy in the Tutu. It's an autobiography, or, a story about my life and my journey. And yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. And, Jinx Monsoon is on Broadway now as Mama Morton in Chicago.
Yeah, I have never met Jinx, but I adore her ever since the Snatch Game when she says, oh, Edie says I shouldn't, when she was doing Grey Gardens. And I was like, who is this person? I love the theatrical queens who do theater and sing because it's close to my heart.
I agree. You're doing legitimate theater.
Yeah.
So I take it you're not really in the clubs that often anymore. But go ahead.
Yeah, sometimes. I still occasionally host gigs, karaoke, and that kind of stuff. Last year I didn't have much time to do that. Now I may go back and do some of that. I also got contacted by Jimmy Ferraro, who I did a show about Belle Barth. I don't know if you're familiar with her. One of the original Jewish dirty blonde, dirty comedians. And she was big in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So she introduced Lenny Bruce to the stage, but she was so dirty she couldn't get on Ed Sullivan. And that she was the kind of gal who wouldn't hurt a fly unless it was open. And so I did a couple of readings of that show, but he would like to produce that maybe in October. I think it's called Raunchy Little Musical now. Before I did it, it was called If I Embarrass You, Tell Your Friends.
Love that line.
Shut your pie hole. Mine's making money. That was actually originally Belle. She was a character.
What is your thoughts on what's going on all over the country with the condemning of drag shows, the shaming of the trans community, the laws being passed, don't say gay, and things of that? How will you think of that?
What? It's so odd because we have been around for centuries. Trans women have been using the bathrooms, for instance, for as long as, probably there were bathrooms. no one had a problem with it until somebody said, oh, you should have a problem with this. So people have the right, they have the absolute right to feel however they want about me or any other marginalized person. And I'm okay with that. You don't have to like me or accept me. Just don't make those opinions based on lies. You know, there are people that would think that I'm a pedophile or a rapist. And you know, I don't know of any documented case of a trans woman doing any molestation or rape or anything. And listen, if there's a list of 100 items of what I want to do in a public bathroom, it's not even on the list. I want to pee and get the hell out of there. And we've been peeing next to each other for decades as far as I've been alive. So it's all hype, and it's people lying and making up stuff to you know, you can't hate somebody unless you dehumanize them. You know, it happened in the Holocaust. It happened in slavery. It happened in the Carolinas, where they said I was a rapist and a pedophile for wanting to use the public bathroom. And if you take the public bathroom out of a person's day, that means they've kept you at home, because you can't go shopping with your family or your girlfriends because, you know, they want to keep you in your place. Drag has been around for as long as we know. Milton Berle wears a dress, and Flip Wilson and Bugs Bunny. And, you know, when you look at, you know, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, being characters and dressing up and having personas is nothing new.
No.
It's something we're all familiar with, but somebody said, oh, you better watch out because they're coming for you. And that's the part that is sad and disgusting to me, is that if you have religious beliefs or just personal beliefs that you don't believe in what I think and how I live, that's fine. I don't always believe in what you believe, but I don't want to change you. So don't try to change or legislate.
How can we stop it? How can we stop this hate and ignorance?
It's a great question. You know, I grew up in a time where we didn't have allies. We didn't have computers or cell phones or cable TV. We could go to the library and there might be 1 or 2 books that we could, if we really looked hard, we could find. And we got through a hell of a lot of crap. Being our little own islands, you know, or our small communities that we had bound together. We've been through a lot of this before. I hope, it's my biggest hope, that with allies and the world at our fingertips, and to be able to use social media, I would hope that even though we're going through some of the same struggles, we'd have a lot more tools and resources to do that.
Honey, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I think you and I would get along great.
I would love that. I would love that. Come to Chicago.
We have many guests from the Chicago area, and I'd love to come and visit you in person. Thank you so much. And we're going to close out this interview with a part of one of your songs. So thank you so much, honey.
Thank you. Bye.
This should be my theme song. Sexy. It's a trend. I don't like crappy
And that was Honey West. What a great entertainer. Thank you so much, Honey West. It was a pleasure talking to you. As we mentioned earlier, 2 weeks ago was Winter is a Drag Ball here in Vermont, the 28th annual and the 21st that the House of LeMay has produced. And we always have a performance early in the evening for everyone to attend. And this year, our special guest was one of the founders of Winter is a Drag Ball and a frequent guest of Amber Live, Yolanda. And she also has some other guests with her as well. Let's watch that clip.
If you're happy and you know it, snort and growl. If you're a monster and you know it, snort and growl. If you're a monster and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, snort and growl. Come on. What's our next one? All right, show everybody the pictures. If you're a monster and you know it, smack your paws. If you're a monster and you know it, smack your paws. If you're a monster and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, smack your paws. Oh, very good. Okay, what's our next one? Okay, if you're a monster and you know it, stomp your paws. If you're a monster and you know it, stomp your paws. If you're a monster and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, stomp your paws. All right. What's the next one? I know we're doing good. Oh, okay, here we go. If you're a monster and you know it, twitch your nose. Twitch, twitch. If you're a monster and you know it, twitch your nose. Twitch, twitch. If you're a monster and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, twitch your nose. Twitch, twitch. Now, for the best part. If you're a monster and you know it, wiggle your tail. If you're a monster and you know it, wiggle your tail. If you're a monster and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, wiggle your tail. I want to see some people stand up and wiggle their tails. Come on. Let's do that. There we go. Wiggle some tails. That's it. All right. And now, if you're a monster and you know it, give us a roar. If you're a monster and you know it, give us a roar. If you're a monster and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, give us a roar. All right, you ready for this last one? We're gonna do all of them together. Okay. If you're a monster and you know it, snort and growl. If you're a monster and you know, what's the next one? Smack your paws. Smack, smack. If you're a monster and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're a monster and you know it, stomp your claws. Okay. If you're a monster and you know it, twitch your nose. Twitch, twitch. If you're a monster and you know it, wiggle your tail. If you're a monster and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're a monster and you know it, give us a roar. Give us another roar, come on. One last time. My monsters, I love you. Give it up for all of our monsters.
Just a reminder, the lip sync show will be starting shortly over in the lounge.
Oh, thank you. Yes, 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 yes. All right. That was it. Our monsters. Wait, honey. All right. How's that? Everybody feel twitchy? Yeah? Okay, I've got another guest for you. We don't know if he's a monster. He'll come out and tell us. But ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. Give it up for Craig Mitchell.
we did this, what, at the old higher ground in Winooski. Oh my goodness.
I know.
I'm showing my age. How's everybody doing?
Well, Mr. Craig Mitchell, do you have any words of wisdom for our fourth graders here at Higher Ground Elementary School?
Well, the only thing I have is what I do at all my shows in my band. And it's my mantra and it's my, my thing. And I did this back at Pearls back in the day.
Yes.
One people thing. Within these walls, on this dance floor, there's no such thing as gay or straight, white or black, man or woman. We're all one people, united by rhythm. If you don't believe that, you can get the fuck out right now. So welcome to our church, Reverend Yolanda.
Introduction to the song we're gonna sing.
Exactly.
So hit it, Biscuit. It's number 4. There we go. That was perfect.
Sometimes I'm right when I could be wrong. My whole beliefs are in my song. A butcher, a baker, a drummer, and man. Makes no difference what group I'm in. Everyday people. There is a blue one, the green one, the fat one, the skinny one. Different strokes for different folks. It's so, and you can do it. Ooh, sha-sha. And we got to live together.
I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can't figure out the bag I'm in. I'm everyday people. Yeah. Well, there is a who doesn't like the short hair for me. Such a rich one that will not help the poor one. Different strokes for different cups, and so on and so on. And scooby-doo-doo-doo. Sha-sha. There is sha-sha. Here it goes. There is a who doesn't like the red one, who doesn't like the black one, who doesn't like the white one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on. Ooh, sha-sha. Ooh, sha-sha.
Thank you, Yolanda. That was wonderful. And thanks to Craig Mitchell as well. And you know what happened that weekend? Rocco Zamboni came up to Vermont and we hung out together. I wonder if he has any memories of that. And I wonder what he's talking about this week.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Rocco. I'm hanging out here in Amber LeMay's bathroom. I know you're saying, why are you hanging out in Amber LeMay's bathroom? Well, let me show you guys something, all right? Apparently, Amber's got a fascination with cocks. That's right. She's got cocks all over this bathroom. I don't know. But let me tell you, I've never seen such a collection of big cocks in my life. Look, you could be washing your hands, and there's a bunch of cocks there to remind you, hey, you don't know what you've been touching, wash your hands. Look at some of these things. It's absolutely crazy. So, if anybody was ever wondering what Amber could use for her birthday or for Christmas, get her some big cocks. She seems to love those things. She's got them everywhere. Black ones, red ones, not too many white ones, but they're really small. Anyway, she's got pictures of cocks hanging up. She's just got all sorts of cock everywhere. It's like a cock farm in Amber's bathroom. I'm a little perturbed by it, being that I've been spending the weekend with Amber. We won't even talk about that. But hey, here I am in the bathroom. You saw what it's like. Pretty interesting, right? All right, Amber, whatever you say.
Love that, Rocco.
Thank you, Rocco. And now for that big announcement we promised you. As we said, in a couple weeks, we're going to celebrate our 3rd anniversary of Amber Live. And to commemorate that special occasion, we've got a very special interview with Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck. If you're not familiar with him, watch this clip.
Hey y'all, my beloved Tennessee's really upping their shame game lately because on top of a horrific abortion ban, Tennessee has become the first state in the union to pass a bill banning drag shows. Now, it ain't been signed yet, but it will be, and ostensibly it's aimed at preventing lewd shows in front of children, but it's worded so vaguely it essentially makes it illegal to be trans or in drag in public. Well, kiss my ass. This is, of course, being done under the guise of protecting the children. It started with Drag Queen Story Hour at the library, which combines 2 things these people absolutely cannot stand: anything queer and kids learning. I don't know which part of the equation pissed them off more. Like, Governor, we've got reports that drag queens are reading to children. What? I thought I told you to burn all the books. These people's bigotry is ancient, but this obsession they have with anything trans or drag is relatively recent. I know because I'm from Tennessee. When I was in school there, Clay County, class of 04, go Bulldogs, my school held a fundraiser my senior year wherein myself and the rest of the boys participated in a drag show for the whole student body. Before you ask, I did not win. No, matter of fact, my most redneck ass buddy won by slutting it up and being utterly unconcerned with things like taste, but that's not the point. The point is our little drag show was a huge hit, designed by, for, and featuring children. And everybody in my Tennessee town loved it. I've heard similar stories from other Southerners. In fact, my buddies at the Tennessee Holler found that Governor Bill Lee himself got dolled up and strutted his stuff at Franklin High back in '78. I guess me and Governor Lee should be thankful for statutes of limitations, elsewise me, him, and half the rednecks I know would be considered felons once this little bill of theirs goes through.
Now do you know who he is? Yes, he'll be here on March 19th, live on Amber Live. I can't wait. I saw him twice in person at the Vermont Comedy Club. He's very, very funny, very, very smart. I can't wait. But until then, we've got Boog and Shug. See you next week.
Have you ever been to Vermont, Shug? Yeah, they have great maple syrup. Ooh, yeah, I could eat a gallon of that shit. Boog, you're gonna get the beaties from all that sugar. Ha, I'm used to it. I get the beaties from my dad every time I fuck up.